Hi, this is Carrie with Carrie Concealed in the Active Self Protection Extra channel. And I got a really awesome email today. And I thought I would share that email with you and tell you a little bit about the course. So we'll do that when we come back.
Palm pepper spray is next generation OC spray. It's hot at 1.4% major capsaicinoids, and its modular design means you can customize it exactly to you. 3 different setups, lots of different color combinations. You can make it exactly as you like. And the flip top safety prevents accidental discharges. It's 10 to 12 foot range and 25 half-second blasts. Make sure that you can keep that long range eye poke at long range. I trust Palm OC and I recommend it for everyone for self-defense.
Welcome back. All right, so the email I got today is one I was really hoping I would get soon because it would mean that I actually passed the Advanced Force Science Specialist course. And so they sent an email today with an emailed certificate, which I still can't believe I passed, not even joking. And it says, Force Science confers the honor of Advanced Specialist in the Behavioral Analysis of Force Encounters upon me, who has fulfilled all requirements prescribed by Force Science. And Mr. John got one of these, and so did Miss Steph as well. And so we're excited about this. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the course and then some ways that you can learn many of the things that we learned in the course as well. So first, to begin with, the credential description explains that they want to enhance our expertise in behavioral science, particularly in high-stress law enforcement scenarios. And I know it says law enforcement scenarios, and that definitely is the focus, but the truth is we're talking about human factors, and all study participants for these studies are humans. And that means that the factors apply to all humans, not just police officers. So the course focuses on the nuanced application of human performance principles in critical incidents. And it says that through the course, we delve into in-depth examinations of motor movement processes and the dynamics of movement in critical incidents. I particularly appreciated how we explored how cognitive functions such as attention, eye scanning, visual focus, pattern recognition, anticipation, decision-making, and memory affect a defender's behavior in use of force incidents. So we had plenty of quizzes that we took throughout the course. We had a comprehensive final exam. We had weekly discussion or bi-weekly discussion boards, and lots of Zoom meetings for training. And we had clinical reviews. Our clinical days were 3 very intense clinical days. And we all learned a lot and had a great time. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the course materials. Here's a stack here. Hopefully you can see them. The first one is this Force Science research book. And this book contains all of the force science studies that have been done. It's thick and it's a great read. You can actually buy this on the Force Science website if you want to. I think it's about, I want to say $90, somewhere in there. And it's a great resource because, like I said, it contains all the force science studies. Some of the studies you can find online, but many of them you can't. Or you can find them online, but you have to pay for them. So I appreciated having that resource. Another resource we had was Motor Learning and Performance by Dr. Schmidt and Lee. Great book. And another one we had is this one. Some of you I know have read this, Perception, Cognition, and Decision Training by Dr. Vickers. A great resource. And then I won't go through these 2 binders, but these are a bunch of the studies and some of the textbook reading we had. In addition to those materials, we also had between 15 and 20 different additional resources, studies, that sort of thing that they gave us during the course. So I think I talked about the topics already covered, but the areas of study specifically, and the course was broken down into, I think, about 8 weeks. Or not 8 weeks, but 8 sections. So research design, speed and dynamics, learning performance, vision, decision-making, attention, human error, I think I said decision-making already, and memory. So I mentioned the workload. One of the things I didn't mention about the workload was the comprehensive final paper that we had to do. So we had to do an expert witness style report, and then we're waiting to hear back from the course designers and Dr. Lewinsky and a few others as they've read our expert witness reports, and I'm very much looking forward to their feedback on these reports. They've seen many of them, and I'm anxious to hear what they have to say about mine. One of the things I like to put into my reports is a timeline of events, and so I like to just highlight the key important events. I don't know how that will be received, though. I don't know if that's a common thing that most expert witness reports include or not, but I'm anxious for their feedback on that to see how that goes. So in addition to getting into dive into the studies in the analyst course, we also got to hear from and ask questions of guest lecture experts. So we got to hear from Dr. Nicholas Murray, who does a lot with vision and how the eyes work and that sort of thing, Dr. Lewinsky and Dr. Azar Dickens. And my favorite guest lecturer, I would say, is probably Dr. Gary Klein. One of the things I was really excited that he talked about is a learning tool called shadowboxing. And he explains, not shadowboxing, the shadowbox method. And he explains that the way the shadowbox method works, I'll just read this to you, because I think there's a lot of trainers out there that this is going to be a really great tool. I've only used it once. I wrote up my own shadowbox scenario and used it with a group of students before they came to the class, and they very much enjoyed it. So here's what it is. The shadowbox method is having trainees address decisions in the midst of scenarios that are presented in a paper and pencil format. There's also a few software versions that Dr. Klein has talked about. I just did mine in a paper pencil format. So the shadow box method doesn't rely on a facilitator. Instead, it's a group of subject matter experts. They read through a scenario and then provide their responses and the rationale for their responses, and that's the key. Why did the experts make the decisions they made? After that's done, the trainees are given the same scenarios and are asked to fill out their responses and their rationales at specific decision points. Once they've provided their responses and rationales, the trainees are shown the synthesized subject matter expert answers, and they're asked to identify how their answers differ from those of the experts. And it allows the trainees to see critical incidents and scenarios through the eyes of an expert. And what a great training tool. I'm excited to see how this develops over time, and if I'm able to hopefully make some sense of it. One of the articles in addition to the shadowbox method I just mentioned, one of the things I'm excited about is the idea of using so Dr. Klein wrote an article called Naturalistic Decision Making, and actually a naturalistic decision making perspective on studying intuitive decision making. What was interesting to me is in this article, he explained that the naturalistic decision making community recommends that we strengthen the intuitions of our learners by providing them with a broader experience base. That helps them build their tacit knowledge. And tacit knowledge is knowledge that's understood or implied without it being implicitly stated. So their perceptual skills will help, such as perceptual skills, having them gain richer mental models will allow them to have a broader base. And one of the things that Dr. Klein talks about that experts, what differentiates skilled decision makers from non-skilled decision makers is their ability to make perceptual discriminations, recognize patterns, draw on rich mental models, and judge typicality. And the judging typicality was an interesting one to me. I asked a question about that because that really piques my interest. I need to spend some more time thinking about that and how I can help my learners gain skills in judging typicality. So I look forward to using the shadowbox method and then some of these other tools in my own teaching. What else did we cover? Oh, one of the articles I also enjoyed was an article on dispatch priming and its effect on police decisions in the use of deadly force. And I'll just read you one key line from this. Findings suggest officers rely heavily on dispatched information in making the decision to pull the trigger when confronted with an ambiguously armed subject in a simulated environment. And the study found that when dispatched information is erroneous, it contributes to a significantly higher incidence or a significant increase in shooting errors. So this is something that made me think a lot about priming, and this was about priming in dispatch scenarios. But what are some other types of priming that we might notice in prior to a defensive use of force encounter, or that we might be primed because of a situation, and how does that impact us? So I don't have answers for that yet. These are just things that I'm thinking through and wanting to understand a little more deeply, and have piqued my interest. Another great study that you can get, this is you can get this free online actually. It's called The Eyes Have It, and this is by Dr. Nicholas Murray that I mentioned earlier, about one of our guest lecturers. This study compared the human eye scans and the information captured on body-worn camera footage. And the quote is, officers attended to 80% of all critical incidents, whereas the body-worn camera view captured only 66%, especially missing key events. So the information that officers used to make critical decisions wasn't available to the camera. The body-worn camera was unable to capture nearly 80% of the critical information that officers used to make their decision in a given event. And so I think one of the dangers of that for me is I think it's been easy for me to think that the body-worn camera sees everything when it actually doesn't. And they've experimented with hat mount cameras, glasses, all kinds of different options for that. But a lot of things will impact what's seen. Sometimes the officer's hands are in front of their body-worn cameras. Sometimes they're, the officer's looking this way, but their chest is pointed that way. Those types of things. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And then one other article or one other topic I'll share with you that I really enjoyed is Dr. Vickers, who wrote Perception, Cognition, and Decision Training. They gave us a terrific handout on understanding the difference between decision training and behavioral training, and how to know which one we're offering or which one we're engaging in, and the benefits of decision training. And I'm not going to go into it in this video, but I'll do one in the coming weeks where I talk about the difference between behavioral training and decision training, and just the phenomenal difference between the two, and then ways of taking behavioral-based training and turning it into decision training, and why that's particularly helpful. Okay, one of the other things I loved about the course is the ability to pick up little tidbits. When you get to learn from somebody that's been around, Dr. Lewinsky says that he's been serving the law enforcement profession since 1976 with the research that he's been doing. And so he has great tidbits because he's seen a huge evolution of training and tactics and gear and that sort of thing. And one of the little tidbits I enjoyed learning about was why in the 1970s and 80s, police officers and supervisors and trainers started seeing police officers that were spontaneously temple indexing their gun. So they were holding their gun up here in certain scenarios, and where that came from and why it came about. And anyway, it was just very interesting to me. I love learning little things like that, but that is one example of the Hollywood effect, and Dirty Harry was involved in that one. So I won't go any further. I'm sure you can figure that out, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, here's a couple of my favorite tidbits that I learned from the course, or favorite phrases that I had, or that I learned. Dr. Lewinsky says, and a lot of his compadres say, that the three most important words in a use of force investigation is time is critical, and the importance of initially breaking down the amount of time that the individual, the defender, had to make the decisions, and had not only to perceive what was going on, but to think through what they're going to do and then respond. And just the key aspects of understanding how critical time is, and then applying it to an outcome, or to see if it will help explain the outcome of the incident. One of the facilitators said a phrase that I love this. He said, "We see things the way we are, not the way they are." Part of the force science course, this course, is to replace emotional assessments of critical incidents with empirical assessments. One thing I appreciated is I won't say which expert said it, but one of the experts explained that when they're on the stand testifying in an expert witness scenario, in a real life expert witness case, they explained that when the opposing counsel begins to attack the witness personally, that's how one way you can know it's going well for your side. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but I just thought that was interesting. One of the vision experts talked about that looking isn't the same as seeing. You have to focus your attention on it in order to actually be aware of it, and especially to remember it later on in the midst of a critical incident. One of the most important, or probably the most important, we can ask someone that's been involved in a critical incident that we're investigating is, what was important to you at the time? Getting a perception statement from them immediately, or not immediately, it doesn't have to be the second after or whatever, but getting a perception statement from them as quickly as possible is helpful because it can guide the investigation. And the memory expert, I can't pronounce her name or I would tell you what it is, but she had a great lecture that she gave us. And she explained that the brain is not there to store memory. It's there to predict what's going to happen so that we can survive. That made an impact on me. One of the things I appreciated most about the course was the opportunity to learn new ways of explaining critical topics, such as attention and where our focus of attention is and why that impacts things like memory and perception and those sorts of things. The clinical days that we had were long and grueling. The course culminated with 3 clinical days. I can't remember if they were 6 or 8 hour days. It felt like 20-hour days, but anyway, I thought that they were useful. It was preparing for them that was a bit grueling. One of the things I appreciated in preparing for them is it gave me an opportunity to develop a new tool that helps me when I'm analyzing cases. And it's just a tool where it walks me through the different aspects I need to be looking for when I'm evaluating a case, such as, where was the individual's focus of attention? Were there any priming factors involved? How complex was the scene? What are some eyewitness statements? What decisions were made and what perceptions led up to the actions that were taken? Time considerations and a number of other aspects. Any conflicts among the memory of people involved in the incident and why some of those conflicts can occur. And then any human factors that were part of it as well. So I think this tool so far has helped me. One of the cases that I'm working on right now in real life, I actually took this and reviewed the material preparing for trial coming up here, and found just helped me solidify some of the things that I need to talk about. So I think that's one of the neat things when we get to take courses is how we can apply them in so many different areas of what it is we're doing. All right. I think one of the things about the clinical days, I thought I'd share this with you. My poor kids, one of the cases was really, really confusing. I mean, really confusing. It involved, I don't even know how many officers, 10, 12 officers, and a staircase, 2 doors. You can see there's 2 doors here side by side, and 3 staircases actually. It was really confusing for me to try to figure out who was standing where, because it's just words that are used to describe, and then a couple of drawings that were different, but there were conflicting reports or conflicting statements made about what direction was east and west and that sort of thing. So I began by asking my kids to stand on our staircase so I could try to figure out where the officers were and where the subject was standing. And they got a little bit tired of that, and I don't blame them. So one of my kids said, "Hey, I'll build you a Lego model." And I said, "Please." So my oldest son, Toby, has a Lego business where he buys used Legos and cleans them and then sells them. And you wouldn't think that would make money, but it does, and a shocking amount of it, to be honest with you. So he used a bunch of his Lego pieces that he had for sale to build this model for me. And this was invaluable to help me understand who was standing where and what could have happened and what it could have looked like. So sometimes we use unconventional things to make sense of what we're trying to study. So if you want to learn more about some of these topics I just mentioned, I would strongly encourage you to visit the Force Science website. And you can just Google Force Science Institute and it'll come right up. On their website, they have a monthly newsletter that they send out, and you can subscribe to that. The articles that come out in their newsletter are extremely helpful. Oftentimes they're summaries of a study or summaries of a principle that Force Science is, talking about that month. And I find those very helpful. Also on the Force Science website, there are many research articles that are available for free for you to read, so you don't have to go purchase them from one of the websites or even this book here. So if that's something you're interested in, I would encourage you to check out the Force Science website. Before this advanced course, there's a course before it that is their, let's see, it's the analyst course. That course is a great course, and I think it's a great starting point because it explains the results of the studies and what the research found. What I appreciated about this course was the opportunity to dive deep into each individual study and understand the purpose of the study and the method and some of the background that went into it. If that's something you're interested in, the Force Science Analyst course is available on the Force Science website. You can do it as an online course at your own pace, and it's a great resource, I think. They also have a de-escalation course, a de-escalation instructor course, and I'm very sure that they'll allow non-sworn into that class. Those are great resources for those of us who teach as well. So I hope this has been informative for you. I was just excited and wanted to share this with you. After I got the certificate today, I was reviewing all my stuff and kind of organizing it to put it away in my cabinet here so I can grab it again soon when I need it. And I thought it'd be fun to tell you a little bit about it in case there are some of you that are thinking about this or just want more information on the topic. There's lots of resources you can get. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and let us know if you've done the course, the analyst course, or any other Force Science Institute courses, or if you've even read some of their studies. All right, thanks for being here today, and I'll see you next week.